Are you an athlete that trains hard but still finds himself lacking confidence and underperforming? Look, I get it. This can be extremely frustrating, but the reality is this has everything to do with your confidence and your mindset. And this is a mindset that causes you to self-sabotage instead of one that promotes you to have consistently high performances. And the reality is it's actually not your fault because, like you're gonna learn today, a lot of these mindsets are conditioned within you and it comes from the sports environment. So in today's video, I'm going to give you the 10 deadly sins that are actually ruining your athletic confidence and what you can do instead to work against them and build your confidence. And the beautiful thing is that I know these 10 things actually work simply because I used to be a pro athlete myself, and today my company uses them with all the pro athletes and youth athletes that we work with to help them build their mental game. Hey difference makers, welcome back to the channel and welcome to video number 4 in our How to Build Confidence series for athletes. If you didn't get a chance to check out our previous videos in the series, don't worry, we're gonna link them at the end for you. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Matt Calderoni. I'm an ex-pro athlete turned resilience coach and co-founder of this company called Molliteum. And on this channel, we explore the practical mental skills, strategies, and tools to help you build a bulletproof mindset. And we've used them with over 5,300 athletes in many different leagues like the NHL, NFL, NBA, MLS, and many more. So, with that being said, let's dive into the 10 deadly sins that are ruining your athletic confidence. Number 1, a lack of or improper preparation. Now, preparing poorly actually happens one of two ways. The first way is that you don't have an intentional practice or a practice where you lack a purpose and you lack an intensity. See, if you lack one or both of these two things, you're going to be going into practices and just going through the motions. And that's just junk reps for your confidence. It does nothing for you. And on the other side, you might be missing one or all three of the core elements to proper preparation, which is visualizing a skill, intentionally practicing a skill like I just mentioned, or watching or studying film on that skill. Now, the reason that most athletes do this is simply because they don't know or haven't been taught how to properly prepare. They're kind of just told to run hard, work hard, and hopefully that'll work for them. And this will always show up in your performances when you're walking into a game and not trusting yourself at all. So what you need to do instead is to make sure that every single week you have one specific skill that you're working on. You need to visualize that skill daily. You need to practice with intention daily with that skill for 15 minutes. So like I said, a purpose and an intensity, a purpose being the skill you're working on, and intensity is one that matches game time. And finally, you need to study film on that skill. Otherwise, you won't learn from your role models and know how to apply it in your game. Do this on a weekly basis, and I can guarantee you're gonna feel way more confident, number 1, and number 2, you're gonna see your performances get to the next level. Number 2, comparing to others. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory, but comparing to others is when you're constantly measuring yourself against other athletes to see how good you really are. And the reason that you're probably doing this, if you're like most athletes, is because this has actually been conditioned within you since you were young. Think about it for a second. All that other coaches or sometimes even parents and of course teammates have done has been comparing you to others constantly within your team. So you, as an athlete, have learned this as a way to think, wow, if that's what I was taught, it's probably what I have to do. Truth is that you actually shouldn't be doing this because it only leads to you feeling insecure. And if you're walking into games feeling insecure or are just insecure on a daily basis, chances are it's because you're constantly comparing to the success of others. Instead, what you need to do is focus on your own personal progress. The whole me versus me mentality is actually a real thing and one that can serve you much better. So what I suggest is getting a simple journal like this that you can just write in every day and measure your own progress. Or you can use your phone to obviously write notes in it, but I would suggest the journal part simply because there's no distractions. And what you want to do here is simply ask yourself, what did I get better in today? How did I get better with it? What do I need to get better with tomorrow? This simple reflection process has worked for so many of our athletes and it's a game changer. Start doing this and I can guarantee you, you'll be getting more confident within yourself. Number 3, negative self-talk. This is when you're constantly criticizing yourself or focused on your weaknesses. And what you do is you start talking to yourself in your own head, right? You're constantly saying, I'm not good enough. This is never gonna work. I just can't do it. It's not good, blah, 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 blah. But all the talk in your head is a negative one. It's a negative narrative. And the truth is that this narrative actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where what you start doing is living out that story you tell yourself. This negative self-talk actually becomes a belief. Now, you develop this when you make consecutive mistakes, have consecutive bad games, or when you have a negative person that's surrounding you who's constantly in your ear. Now, this often shows up both in life and in sport where you have a negative narrative going on in your head where you're telling yourself you're not good enough. So what you need to do is consciously fix your internal dialogue. Next, come up with a phrase that you can tell yourself that supports that result. See it or say it 10 times over to yourself every single morning, either through affirmations or visualization. Now, whenever you catch yourself being negative or start having that negative self-talk, just say that phrase over to yourself again. This will break your pattern and get you focused on the things that you want. Because the truth is, if you don't take control over your thoughts, they will control you. Because the truth is, if you don't control your thoughts consciously, they will wander. And oftentimes they will wander to the negative. For example, my simple saying to myself is be the gold standard. Whenever anything happens, I just tell myself, be the gold standard, and it snaps me right back in to getting into that confident mindset. Because the reality is confidence is a state, and if you just keep saying this thing over and over again to yourself, just like you did with the negative one, it will become a belief that you have that's a positive one. Number 4, focusing on problems versus solutions. This is when you focus on all the things in front of you that could be going wrong instead of recognizing the opportunities that could go right. You're prone to focusing on issues versus focusing on solutions. This is when you spend 95% of your time focusing on the problem and not the solution. Now, most athletes do this because they actually have a fear of failure. They think that by focusing on the negative things, they can seek them out and smell them out and then go work against them. When the truth is, all they're really doing is putting that negative perspective within everything that they do. So instead, what you need to do is choose what to focus on, and that's gonna be the solutions. Make a commitment to yourself right now that if you're watching this video from this point forwards, you're gonna spend 5% of the time on the problem and 95% of the time on the solution. That way it will get you resourceful in focusing on the answers versus staying negative and focusing on all the things that could go wrong. Number 5, trying to be perfect. This is when you have a mentality that you need to be perfect in everything that you do and you start chasing a perfect result. When the truth is that in sports, it's 80-20. 80% of the time, it's gonna go your way, 20% of the time it won't. And the best part is that you only really need this 80-20 to be super successful in anything that you do. If you can hit the mark 80% of the time, you're gonna do great. And what this allows you to do then is get into a mentality that supports you learning from mistakes instead of shutting it down. See, perfection is one of the lowest standards that you could hold for yourself because you don't grow. And if you don't grow, you're not gonna build confidence. And if you don't build confidence, you're not gonna reach that next level. You need to make mistakes in order to keep growing. You need the 80-20 balance. Now, most athletes get into this mindset because they simply wanna be their best and they think perfection is the way to go. And this will often show up in games when you're fearing mistakes or failure. So what you need to do instead is accept this 80-20 mindset, accept this 80-20 standard, and realize that so long as you're growing, that's what reaches success, not perfection. Number 6, dwelling on the past, good or bad. This is when you let your past define you. See, so many athletes think this is only when you focus on the negatives in your past, but what I've actually seen derail more athletes and their confidence with the work that we've been doing is them focusing on all the success they've had and thinking that's enough. The truth is that the sports world is a results now world, meaning that what matters now is now. AKA, if you've had 3 good seasons, but you're having a poor season right now, it's not good enough. Now, the reason that most athletes do this is simply because they're not taking control of their focus, which is focusing on the now. Instead, what they're doing is saying, hey, well, I've done really well in the past, that should be good enough, or I've done poor in the past, which means I can't fix the future. The truth is that the past doesn't really matter. Yes, it's great that you have the accolades, and hey, maybe on the opposite side, it's okay that you had a poor season. All that matters is you turn the page now. Now, this often shows up in performances either one of 2 ways. If you're caught in a negative past, then chances are you have a really tough time moving on from mistakes. And if you're caught up in a positive past, then chances are you often lack keeping your foot on the gas and pushing it to the next level. Regardless of what it is, both of these cause you to get distracted, not put in the quality work, and then you lack confidence. So what you need to do instead is recognize that the past is already done and it's already gone in your memories. Don't worry about it, good or bad. And the future only exists in your imagination. What matters is right now. You need to commit to winning the day. And if you just do that with quality work, quality preparation, your confidence will skyrocket and your results will too. Number 7, depending on external validation for confidence. This is when you look to others or results to prove that you're a confident person. You need them to say, hey, good job, or you need to win, and then you can say, well, finally, if that happens, then I'll be confident. Now, athletes do this for many different reasons, but there's 3 common patterns that come up. The first one is that they're insecure simply because they don't work on their skills. The second one is that you were most likely conditioned to only focus on results since you were young, so now you've learned that as a mechanism of feedback. And the third one is cultural influences of the sport, where maybe you had a very extreme coach or a very extreme parent or teammate or sibling, and all you wanted to do was try to get their validation and impress them, where they've made you feel that way. That's usually where this comes from. Now, this often comes from a young age where you're looking for rewards and pleasure like that. However, in the current age, it's also coming a lot from social media and getting validation there. So what you want to do instead is get very clear on the person that you want to become and measure your character constantly against that. Meaning, you want to ask yourself, did I reflect this person I want to be in my daily work? Even if I didn't get the result, even if I made mistakes, did I take a step towards being that person through my work quality and my effort quality? If you did that, you have nothing else to worry about. Just focus on the person you want to become, taking identity-based steps towards that on a daily basis, and you'll be fine. Number 8, depending too much on your talent. This is when athletes think that their talent is enough. It's going to be the thing that gets them to the next level. Maybe it's because you dominated your past seasons or in the past leagues, and you think now it's going to be enough to get you there. Now, most athletes actually fall into this trap when their upbringing wasn't super stressful, meaning that they were the best in their class constantly, they had all the resources they need, they thought they had all that talent, maybe they were playing in a smaller pond, but they were a bigger fish, when the reality is that they get to that next level or that bigger pond, and now there's a bunch of bigger fish in there with them, and it's not as easy. In fact, this is when the talent blinders actually show themselves. Now, this shows up when you get to that next level and you're not as confident as you thought you would be. You start to question yourself, you start to overthink things, maybe you start underperforming because of it. So what you need to do instead is adopt this mindset right now, and it's that no matter how good you are, no matter what level you're at, no matter what class you sit in, you must always be working to build your confidence. If you just focus on that, just like the great Steph Curry does, or LeBron James, or any of these great athletes, and they just constantly work for confidence, you will never have to worry about it. Remember the saying, stay ready so you never have to get ready. That's the mentality here. Number 9, inconsistent routines. Not having set times to go to bed, wake up, or prepare all lower your confidence. And if you're an athlete who's winging it right now and doesn't have a set time for those, you're gonna wanna change that. See, confidence comes from repetition. If you don't have repetition in your life and you're not constantly practicing your skills, even when you're good, or constantly waking up on time, or have a constant bedtime, this is going to play with how confident you feel, because on one side, the lifestyle aspect, you're gonna be dead tired. And if you're dead tired, you're not gonna go in and perform well. And on the other side, if you're not working on your confidence, you're not gonna walk into performances confident at all. It's very basic. And this actually has a direct correlation to how consistent you are in performances. If you're inconsistent, chances are it's because your habits are inconsistent. So instead, what you need to do is put a consistent schedule together. Every week, we work with our athletes to do this. You wanna look at your Monday to Sunday, and you wanna say to yourself, great, what time do I need to wake up every day? What time do I need to put in my specific repetitions? What time do I need to watch my film? What time do I need to visualize? Write it down, commit to it, don't miss it, I promise it'll work. Number 10, ignoring feedback. This is when you simply don't accept the feedback of those who are qualified to help you get to that next level. Now, the caveat to this is that they have to be qualified people, meaning that people that have played at the next level and are able to help you get to the next level. Now, a lot of times people think that athletes do this because they're arrogant, when in reality, it's because most athletes have a fear of not being accepted or not being good enough. And this will often show up with you lacking a little bit of coachability or getting super emotional when someone who's qualified gives you the proper feedback. Now, what you need to do to avoid this is first identify people who are actually qualified to give you feedback on your performances. These are people that should have played or are playing at the level you want to get to in the position that you're playing in and can give you actual feedback on your performances. This is not just some kind of a random parent, teammate, or coach that thinks they know what they're doing, but really they don't. And once you have that identified source, you need to seek feedback from them at least once a week. This will allow you to have a third pair of eyes when you're reflecting so that you can keep getting better and growing. And there you have it. These are the 10 deadly sins that you want to avoid making as an athlete so your confidence can skyrocket. Now, if you got value from this video, please like, subscribe, click the notification bell, share this episode with a friend. It helps us grow this channel and keep bringing you more free content. Now, if you missed video number 3 in the How to Build Confidence series for athletes, you can check it out simply here. Or if you want to watch the entire playlist, you can check it out here where we have everything from a blueprint right up to this episode and many more to come. Now, if you want to apply to work with us in our one-on-one coaching program, it's serious inquiries only. There's 2 links down below, one for parents and one for athletes. Check it out. We do only take on 2 athletes per week or 8 total per month. It is first come, first serve, and spots are limited. With that being said, make sure to tune in next week for video number 5 in the How to Build Confidence series for athletes, where we dive into the mental techniques on how to actually build your confidence with no fluff and no BS. Stay resilient, and we'll see you there. So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the full podcast episode, click right here.